So hi, welcome back to my blog about Hitchhikers Guide to the Galaxy, and before we continue with this entry, I have to notice a mistake that I did last entry, and that was that I actually continued and I talked about chapter 9. So the whole thing about being in this unknown ship and the whole like hallucination stuff, that was chapter 9. So I will be continuing with chapter 10 to chapter 12 because I did a mistake. And chapter 10 is pretty small, like it's just one page, it's this one. So it starts talking about the infinite improbability drive. That was what I was trying to describe last entry. And that is that there's like this, I would call it like an engine, I know it's a drive but I refer to it as an engine, that apparently it was discovered and it was like an amazing thing and stuff like that, but the one who did it, and the whole concept was against by some of the physicists. They didn't believe it to be possible, and they didn't believe in it. So when he did it, people were not happy about it, and apparently after he got his award for doing it, he got lynched by, it says, by a rampaging mob of respectful physicists who had finally realized that the one thing they really couldn't stand was a smartass. So they weren't that much against the idea, they were against the person who did it because they did something amazing and they couldn't stand it. So we go to chapter 11 and it says the ability proof control cabin of the Heart of Gold. That is how we start. So in this point I come back to where I left in the first entry that I did, that was that I didn't understand what the Heart of Gold was. I knew that Sapod can Sapod? I just noticed that it's a PH, so I don't know if it's an F or like a Sapod or a Sapod. So I'm just gonna continue saying Sapod because that's how I've been reading it. So we have, now that I understand that the Heart of Gold is actually a ship, and apparently it is the ship that Arthur and Ford are in at the moment. So they were picked up by Sapod, and he was the one who took it, and it keeps talking about Trillion, and here as I said before, I don't understand the relationship between Sapod and Trillion, and I still don't know, but we know that she is with him, and that Sapod, we get to know that Sapod is not the smartest guy, apparently, because she keeps telling him stuff like, hey, do you know where we picked them up, and like this code names that he doesn't understand what she's referring to. So he's not the smartest person, but he was the president of the galaxy, so it's kind of like funny that he had this big post, but he was not the smartest. I don't know. It's very weird. And then we go through this whole conversation that they had where they picked them up and how improbable it was that they picked up two people in the ship, and then we get to meet with Marvin, which is, it's a funny character. Like, I don't think he's that important. I hope he becomes a more important character because he's just a very funny robot, because he is a robot that got a human, he got human emotions, but he's not like happy or like reacting. He's just like depressed. He doesn't want to do anything. He believes that he doesn't want to talk about life. He's just very sad. In general, he's just very depressed. It's very weird how he is. Then we go back to an entry from the Hitchhikers Guide to the Galaxy about robots and how they have a personality. And we come back to Ford and Arthur, that they get picked up by Marvin. So Marvin comes in and is like, hey, I'm going to take you to the ship, to the captain. And they go, and I found it very weird, the whole thing with the doors, how they are happy. Like, they also have a personality, which just makes it weird that a door would have a personality, but they are incredibly satisfied the fact that you use them. It sounds very weird saying it, but they just, like, if you open, they're like, yes, and like, they don't actually react that much, and when they close, they're like satisfied about it, and that pisses Marvin off. He hates it because, as we said, he's like super depressed, and doors being happy, it's just like, what? And then we get to know that Marvin says that, oh, Ford is talking about how the ship is just known by, like, it's just can just be owned by government and higher ups. So he wants to know who the owner of the ship is, and that is when Marvin tells him that it is not owned, that it has been stolen, and that it was stolen by Sapod Beeblebox. And apparently, Ford knows about him because he gets all like, he repeats a name weekly, and then he starts like, did you say that? And then he says to Arthur, like, did he say Sapod Beetlebug? And then we go back to Zapod and how he's like watching the TV, and he watches a small entry, like, no, a small report about him and how he stole the ship. And then that is when they enter, well, they have a whole, Trillian and Zapod have a whole conversation where, again, we get to know that Sapod is not the most brilliant alien out there. And we get the whole conversation, and then it's when we get to know the computer. We still don't know who this computer is, but again, it has a personality, but it's more of like a friendly personality. It's more annoying, actually. For me, she or he, they are annoying. Just like it's super obvious that Sapod also doesn't like the computer, and they just are speaking about the hitchhikers that they picked up, or well, they still don't know they're hitchhikers, but the people that they picked up on the ship. So this was like an okay chapter. It doesn't say that much information. We just get to know a little bit more about the characters, about Trillian and Zapod, and the whole ship concept. So far, by this point, I'm understanding most of it. Like, there's still stuff that I have to read again, or that I have to think about it very hard. But besides that, I have understood what it has happened, and I hope that they meet, like Arthur and Ford and Sapod meet, and we get to know why Sapod and Ford know each other, and that they will have like an adventure across the galaxy, because again, by this point there's like no major plot line, we just have the situations happening. But so far I'm liking the book. I like the comedy of the book. Like, I think this is gonna be a constant element that can be found in the book, the comedic part, but it's still very funny, and like, it was very recommended, this book, to me, so the fact that I'm liking it is making me very happy, because if I like it, I want to continue reading it, which I will, not only for the project, but for enjoyment. And I'm so glad that I bought the whole 5 novels, because if I finish this book and I really like it, I want to continue and read them all. So yeah, that was it for my entry number 3.